Hi gamers, so after 12 months of owning the PS5, we're going to be looking into what Sony got right and what Sony got wrong. Let's jump straight into it. Hi gamers, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget everything used in the video today. There will be links in the description below for the best place to get those gaming products. Make sure you check those out at the end of this video. Hi gamers, so it's been over 12 months since I unboxed the PS5, and I must say this is the one console I dove into more than when I had my PS4. This has grown my gaming addiction tremendously, and I literally bought every single accessory possible. But did I need them? Over 12 months, I've bought 20 physical games. I did get a couple of these second hand, so I did save quite a bit not having to buy the digital version off the PlayStation Store. And there's a few accessories I bought that you probably won't need. So let's dive in and have a look at my gaming experience over the past 12 months, games I've played, games I've enjoyed, and the pros and cons of the PS5. The first game I played on the PS5 was Elden Ring. I jumped to this big time, and trust me, I died a lot. So this is one game I wasn't impressed with. Obviously I must be a really bad gamer because I'd literally died every 5 minutes. So this is one game I actually gave up on. The next game I played was Battlefield 2042. This had a lot of hate as well. It wasn't the best game, but it'd get me into first person shootout, which I jumped into later on. The next game I really wanted to play on the PS5 was Ratchet & Clank A Rift Apart. This was a fantastic game, brilliant platformer, absolutely loved it. There's nothing I can really fault about this game. It just keeps you engaged, and it was hours and hours of fun. Then I dove into my first driving game, which was Assetto Corsa. This I found was really hard with the DualSense controller. I have dove into it now with a steering wheel, and I find this a lot better to play and a lot more immersive. But the biggest game of the year, and didn't dive into on the PS4, was The Last of Us Part 1. Now this game, why I never played on the PS4, I don't know. I had 2 copies of it. I had the original version and I had the remastered version, and I never played either of them. I dove into them for about 40 minutes. When I dove into this game, the haptic feedback from the PlayStation 5 controller and the actual picture quality compared to the PS4 was absolutely amazing, and I'd highly recommend this game if you haven't played it already. The biggest one for me of the year was a Call of Duty. Like I said, I hadn't played a first person shooter before, and I'm absolutely loving it. My highly recommendation with this is if you are playing Call of Duty, the best investment you can make would be a Pro controller. The Sony Pro controller works fantastic for this game. I love the programmable paddles on the back of the controller, and I find it a lot easier to play Call of Duty first person on the PS5. And the biggest game of the year was God of War Ragnarok, and this is one fantastic storyline. I'm actually loving it. I'm about 6 hours into it, but it is one awesome game, awesome experience, and the feedback and the story mode on it is absolutely awesome. And finally, I'm not going to go through all 20 games, but the next one I dove into, and I've been loving this on the VR2, so if you haven't checked out the streams, check these out. But this is going to be the best driving experience I've ever had on a PlayStation console, comparing it to looking back when I first played Formula 1 on the PS1. This is so immersive in PS5 and especially in VR2. It's well worth it, especially if you've got a G29 or a steering wheel system set up. It's so fantastic, and you'll spend hours and hours of fun in that simulator world with the VR2. Now jump back to the PS5, I think the load speeds on the PS5 are fantastic. My only issues that I've had with the PS5 was storage. Once you've got about 7 games, you will fill up that SSD. The big investment I made with mine was a solid state drive. I bought the 2TB. This made a massive impact. If you've just bought a PS5 or you're thinking of buying a PS5, set aside some money for an SSD. I think Sony should upgrade the SSD in it so you don't have to buy a separate SSD. That 1TB SSD that's in there, you end up with just over 600 gig of storage, which isn't a lot when you're storing a load of PS5 games, especially if you download a lot. So if you're playing your PS4 games, I'd highly recommend getting an external SSD. It's well worth that to plug in just to put all your PS4 games on, and it will free up the memory instead of having them stored on your PS5. So looking at the pros on the PS5, my biggest features with it were, one, the loading speeds were fantastic, the haptic feedbacks that you get from that controller, and just the upscale gameplay that you get from all your games. Even your PS4 games play 10 times better and load that a little bit better on the PS5. You also get free upgrades for a lot of PS4 games, so don't forget to check those out. As I found in the 12 months of playing on the PS5, and one of the best investments I made was the charging dock for your controllers. So if you've got at least a second controller, you'll have one on charge and one that you're using. I haven't found my controllers go flat that quick. They normally last around 5 hours, which is plenty of time for me gaming. So the next thing I bought was a camera. Now this, unless unless you're an actual YouTuber like me and you do a lot of live streams, there's no real point to the Sony HD camera. That's mainly all I use mine for. There's no need for it for your VR2. All it's really good for is doing your live streams, and it works really, really well. If you're not doing live streams, you're not a YouTuber, then I wouldn't bother buying the PlayStation HD camera. The next thing I bought that I did regret was the Sony Media Control. That I found out actually that my Sony TV controller would do exactly the same as that media remote, so there's no real point to it. Now, as you can see, I did buy an abundance of controllers. I was addicted to all the different colours. I didn't buy every single one, but I bought the purple, the blue, the red, and I got the white one with it. I would have liked the black. Then again, I bought the Pro controller, which I think was quite expensive at £210. But like I said, the PlayStation Pro controller is fantastic for those first-person shooters, and the adjustment to the adaptive triggers work an absolute treat. Right, so next on my list that I bought was the Sony InZone H7s, and I must admit the 3D sound from these is fantastic. You don't need to buy the H9s. The quality and the sound out of these is absolutely awesome, and it works really well, and they are wireless, so you can use them with your VR2 system, and you can use them sitting on your couch meters away from your PlayStation 5. So after 12 months of gaming on the PS5, I'd highly recommend it. If you've got a PS4 and you haven't got a 4K TV, then obviously you could stay with your PS4 purely because there are a lot of games still being released on the PS4. If you haven't got a 4K TV and you're only playing in 1080 or Full HD, there's no real point, apart from load times, there's no real point upgrading to a PS5. You may as well hang on for at least another 6 months to that PS4. So as we jump on to the pros and cons of the PS5, I found that the gameplay and the load times was fantastic. The haptic feedback works really, really well. It does immerse you into that game experience. You can adjust in the gameplay settings whether you want that higher frame rate of 120 FPS or whether you want better gameplay. It's entirely up to you. Now looking at the pros of the PS5, over the PS4, obviously you've got 4K resolution, which the PS4 Pro did have. The haptic feedbacks of the controller as well, which work fantastic. And the load times are just second to none compared to the PS4. Right, so I've got a couple of negatives with the PS5. One, that black look on the PS5 is an actual dust magnet, and it does get really dusty and scratches over time. Also on the back, you've only got 2 USB connections on the back and then 1 on the front. So if you've got an external hard drive and then you've got the camera plugged in and your wireless headset, then you've got no room to plug in any peripherals like a steering wheel unless you play it without your wireless headset. The other negative I've got against the PS5 is the storage. If you've got 7 games in that PS5, you're going to run out of space, and you're going to need to either put an external SSD to transfer them to and from, because you can't play them off an external hard drive, or you have to invest in an M2 SSD and set some money aside for that. All those couple of negatives, I think Sony did a fantastic job. I hope you enjoyed that brief look of 12 months of me playing on the PS5. It's been a fantastic experience over the past 12 months. It got me back into gaming completely over the PS4, and I'm looking forward to diving into a lot more titles on that PS5, and especially in the VR2 mode. Now, for those of you who want to check out the best way to clean that PS5 and keep it cool, check out this video next. And for those who are looking at getting the PSVR 2, check out this video next. So thanks for watching, happy gaming, and I'll catch you in the next one.